this meeting just so that we have it and we can make sure that, for some reason, if somebody had a longer trip home, they couldn't be here. But thank you for coming. Tonight, we're here to talk about eighth grade volleyball. As we start the year, it's obviously kind of a different start than the rest of the sports. And we do that on purpose just because eighth grade's a little bit bigger deal for everyone. And so we want to make sure the girls have extra time to do their tryouts and get that team formation the best they can, and then get started with an extra week of practice for everybody in their last year of volleyball. So thank you for being here and for being a part of volleyball this year. We had handful of people sign up. There was a couple people that didn't show today. We're trying to figure out if they're going to play or not, but we're excited for the girls that are here. And I'd love to start us in a word of prayer. So God, thank you for this day. Thank you for the opportunity to come together and talk about your school and your kids and the families that you've brought to Grand Rapids Christian. We're so thankful for each of these families and what they commit to our school and to their kids and the investment they're making in their child's lives. And we pray that we can honor you in the way that we go about our business and athletics and as parents, trying to do the best we can to put you on display in a positive way. Bless our time today, and we pray. Amen.
Amen.
So thank you again. It's great to have everyone here and starting sports again. I know it's been a long summer, and I heard someone say that August is kind of like Sunday night. The next week is fine, but it's kind of sad to be on Sunday night because it's the work week ahead, and August is kind of that way. Right when August 1 hits, it's kind of like, all right, everything is getting going. But sometimes for us as parents, it's nice to get everything going again. So, I appreciate you guys being here. As you guys know, our philosophy is to give kids the opportunity to play in the middle school. Nobody gets cut. Nobody is, not allowed to play if they want to. If they sign up on time and they want to play, they can play. As you know, in seventh and eighth grade, we try to give kids opportunities to play in a competitive environment, try to win, try to improve, but most importantly, put Christ on display in all that we do when we play. We want kids to have the opportunity to play in every game, in every practice, so that they can test out their skills and fail at them and learn what to work on and have those tough days and then have some successful days and see the improvement. So we want everybody to participate and have an opportunity to test those skills in gameplay and in practices. So we're very inclusive in how we do middle school athletics. Our school is built on Christ, community, and commitment. We seek to honor Christ in everything we do as an athlete, as a parent, as a coach, in the way that we play our sport. We hope to use this sport that everybody enjoys to learn a little bit more about ourselves and about Christ through that sport. Community means that we're better together. And so, all of parents and ADs and coaches and kids working together in one direction is really the key to what Grand Rapids Christian's about. It's kind of the secret sauce of what makes us great, is that by and large, 99% of you all want to work on a team together for the benefit of putting Christ on display, but also for the benefit of our school and the benefit of kids. And we don't often fight each other a whole lot. We talk to each other, we have communication, but by and large, it's kind of one of the things that makes us special is we work together to honor Christ, and we keep that at the center. And so we're better together, and we want to continue to partner. And then commitment, we want to be committed to what we're doing, whether that's in the classroom, whether it's committed to Christ, or whether it's committed to this team. You're part of this team, and because you're part of the team, one of these two teams, you stay part of that team and you give the best you can. And whether it's going well or it's going bad from a win-loss perspective, we're committed to honoring these kids and the opportunity that they have by doing the best we can to support them. And support can mean a lot of things, but man, if support doesn't mean that we are positive for our kids, support does not mean to fight against each other or anything like that by supporting your kid or fighting for your kid, but instead just encouraging and being in it with them. And so we're grateful for the opportunity to do that. Our volleyball program structure, it's competitive sports. It's not recreational. I mean, everybody plays, but it's still competitive. We hire the coaches, we supervise them. We sometimes have some volunteers that want to help us, which is great, but mostly it's paid and supervised coaches. That we play in a league. That league plays a round robin-ish type schedule and then separates into developmentally appropriate tournaments at the end. So people play everybody, and then that's kind of somewhat luck of the draw. Somewhat they try to put, if they know some teams are better, they try to play those teams against the better teams. But it's hard to tell always year to year in the league who's going to be the best. So they do their best to get some competitive schedules out there, but then for sure in the tournaments they do split into developmentally appropriate based on records and that sort of thing. That's something that they do a pretty nice job of. We always want to partner with our parents to work together. And while this is inclusive in nature, we need parents and kids to also know it's not equal playing time. That's not the way that athletics are, and we're stepping our way from rec sports up fifth, sixth, seventh to eighth, and now that's a step before high school where we have cuts, and there's very little equal playing time, if at all. Some kids don't even get in every game in high school. So we're kind of that last stepping stone. It's competitive. We want to win. The best players are going to play more because everybody needs to play with the best players for everybody to be their best. And so they're going to play a little bit more often. The coaches are going to engage a lot of strategy to try to win, but they're also going to give kids a lot of opportunities to succeed and test their skills out, but it won't be equal. It's important to be at practices. And if you're not, you need to communicate really well. And in eighth grade, we do have these try-ins, I guess you could call them. And so that's kind of what we're going through right now. These next 3 days, the coaches have notes. They have every kid's name. They give them name tags. They test them out on all different kinds of courts and all different kinds of situations with different kids to kind of see, where the developmental levels are. It is an inherently imperfect process, tryouts. And if anybody's in here been a coach, you know that, trying to project the next 2 months in 3 days is very difficult, but it's something that we have to try to do in competitive athletics. And so the coaches do a really good job. We are blessed to have some really good coaches in eighth grade. Really in all of our volleyball levels, if you have a child in another level too, but certainly in eighth grade, Tiffany Gates and Carrie Gaybridge have won a variety of state championships at our high school, and they coach eighth grade now, which is pretty cool. And then Kristen Danielson and Abby Vredeveld are the B team coaches. Kristen played for Tiffany at Grand Rapids Christian. She played in college and she coached in college, and then she's coached for us for 5 or 6 years now. So we are really blessed. I want you to know that when those coaches are, watching kids and trying to figure out what's going to be best for your child for this year and projecting forward, that they probably have a pretty good idea of how to do that at this point. So you can rest assured that whether you agree with their decision or not, that they are aligned, that they're doing what they believe is best for your child to give them the best chance to become their best version of themselves as a volleyball player. And there's very little that I can argue with the way that they're going to assess the players and the talent, because they've proven quite a bit that they're going to be just fine at that. So those tryouts will happen over the next 3 days. As the days move on, your daughter might come home and say, yeah, I was kind of on this court the whole time, or I was kind of on this court the whole time. They're trying to make sure that they're figuring that out and getting people in the right spots. And so that is part of the tryout process. As far as coaching, communication, the coach, whether you have Tiffany or Kristen or Abby, they will be your main point of contact throughout the year. This week, you'll kind of have just communication from Abby is what you got last week. On Thursday evening or Friday at some point, they will send out the rosters to everybody. And then you'll start to have different practice schedules. And part of that is based on coach schedules. Our coaches have jobs, and so we can't always practice right at 3. Sometimes they have jobs that go till 5, so we have to practice later. But each team will have their own practice schedule, and that will be on TeamSnap. Most of you are familiar with TeamSnap, that you'll be sent an invite to that once you're put on a team. So right now you haven't been invited because you're not on a team yet. But as soon as they do that, the coaches will invite you to TeamSnap. And then your game schedule will be on there. It's loaded in by the league. Your practice schedule will be loaded in there. And so you should be able to see until the first game, which is like the weekend after Labor Day. You should be able to plan on those practices over the next 3 weeks until then. And then once the game schedule is loaded in, we'll finish out the practice schedule. So you should have a pretty good idea of your entire season practice schedule probably before Labor Day even hits. So that's great news, and that'll all be on your TeamSnap. You'll be invited to that. Just accept the invite and you'll be good to go. And working with coach. So again, we don't have a lot of problems at all in the 8th grade level with volleyball typically. because we have such experienced and fantastic coaches that starting with trust is something that we ask a lot of people. And that's really easy to do when you've got a 4-time winning state championship coach and another coach who's played college volleyball and coached for 6-7 years at the college level. So we've got people that we can start with trust, and you all can be resting assured that you can trust their understanding of volleyball, their commitment to student athletes, and their commitment to your kids. It's what they sign up for. They're way too accomplished to not sign up to love your kid. Like there's no reason they'd be coaching at Graham Christian Middle School if they didn't love kids, right? So you can rest assured in that. Start with trust, okay? Give them the benefit of the doubt. Remember that we want your kid to have a great experience, your child to have a great experience. But sometimes great experience is not just like getting everything you want and winning all the games. Sometimes a great experience is a challenge, and how you help them and our coaches help them and their teammates help them through those challenges. And sometimes it doesn't go great, and that's valuable. And sometimes it goes really bad, but then you get through it and it feels really good, and that's valuable. Sometimes you just win and it's valuable, right? But great experiences are all of those things, okay? Great experiences are not just getting the good and saying that that's what it's all about, because we all know that that's not true. Some of the best experiences of our life are when we struggle and then we find a way to get through that and someone helps us through, and then we're bonded to that person even more. And so please remember that great experiences this year are not going to come in the forms of undefeated seasons. Great experiences are going to come in the form of challenge, difficulty, finding our way through, persevering, and then being excited about that process that we got to go through to be our best. That's how we can define great experience. As I mentioned before, benefit of the doubt. If you're having trouble with something going on, if somebody's not communicating well as a coach, please just ask them. Say, hey, coach, I was wondering about this. Could you give us a little more information, or could you email us a little sooner? It's hard for me to plan for my family. If it's about something else, we really don't want you to talk to people about playing time or strategy. That's really not kind of your area. And the reason I say that is, like, good fences make good neighbors. And so sometimes you put up a fence so that you're just not in each other's stuff all the time. And, like my neighborhood, I have a very small yard and I have a fence right there between me and my neighbor because we're about 20 feet apart. And I love my neighbors and I love hanging out with them. I want our kids to play with them and hang out with them. But we don't need to be in each other's stuff all the time. So one of the reasons that we have a fence up is to keep some things private, right? So for example, when it comes to that, the coach is going to have an idea of what your house is like because they get to work with your kid and they get to hear from your kid. They get to watch you in the stands. They get to kind of get a sense, and they're going to have some perception, whether any of you like it or not, of what your family's like. I know that because I'm a coach. And what we would never want our coach to do is to go to you and say, hey, I'm across this fence right here, and say, hey, because of this limited perception I have of your kid and what you guys are like, I want you to change your parenting strategies, and I'd like you to do it a little differently, right? We would never want a coach to approach you and cross into your private world. And to the same extent, we'd ask you to treat their coaching world as that world, right? Like, because you have a limited view of what you see in a game or a lineup you liked or didn't like, or you heard a snippet from your child when they came home, that all of a sudden you have a perception, and now you're going to jump over the fence into their private zone and tell some of these most accomplished coaches that you're going to see at the middle school level ever, even at the high school level, how they should change what they do. Like, we would never want that. Like, it's just a thing where we have a fence for a good reason. And we can respect that and still be friends and still work together. So, benefit of the doubt, give those coaches your trust, let them do what they do. You do the best to support your child by just encouraging them and listening to them, being sad with them, being happy with them, being frustrated with them, but then helping them persevere through. The next thing to talk about is if others come to you about coach, the best thing you can do, something that we want to do in our community, is you can ask them, well, what did coach say when you talked to coach about that? Instead of allowing this whole conversation to occur in the stands about coach that coach doesn't even know is happening, the best thing you can do is to not be involved and to just say, well, what did coach say to you? And they say, well, I didn't tell coach about it. I said, well, you should probably talk to coach. Because we want to keep things between the two people that they have a thing with. What we don't want to do is start this conversation of gossip and building up things in the stands or in our parent groups that can be damaging to relationships. And so we just encourage you, like, if people come to you and talk to you about coach, you say, oh yeah, what did coach say when you talked to him about that? and just encourage them to go take care of it in the way that it's supposed to be taken care of instead of in this other way. And when you want to approach coach, I'd encourage you. Every school in the United States of America that I go to, they have the same rule, 24-hour rule. Most schools and most parents don't follow that, right? That's a great rule for a lot of reasons. I'm a coach. Megan's a coach. Some of you have been coaches before. But what I'm going to tell you is that personally, I'm a very experienced coach who's, done a lot of coaching in my life, 20 years worth. Um, it doesn't matter what level I'm coaching. If you approach me about something that isn't like real light and fluffy after a game, I'm not going to do a good job with it because I'm not in the same place as you. I'm not able to think clearly. I have a million things going through my head. And so the 24-hour rule is really for a lot of benefits. It's number one for the coach because the coach is not going to be their best when they're just coming off trying to figure out how to help a team, win a game and how to get kids playing time and all that stuff and all the variables that go along with it. So if you approach coach before a day, it's probably just not going to go well, and it's just going to make you excited and frustrated and confused. And the other reason is that you need time. You need time to do a better job, right? You need to think like, do I actually need to talk about this? Is this more about me or is this more about my kid? So if it's about my kid, I should probably encourage them to talk to coach about it. They're eighth graders now, and we got to start preparing them to be independent in that way. And so I want to encourage you, like, that's a good rule for two very specific reasons. You need time and coach needs time. So if you do want to talk to coach, please take the time and then request with a question like I talked about. Is it possible for me to ask you a couple things? Or, Jenny and I would like to talk to you about something. But if it's about playing time and strategy, I'm going to tell you, don't even start. Have your daughter ask coach about what she can do, but don't even begin that conversation. Okay. So those are things of like ways to work with our coach well and connect with coach well. There's a lot of things that you can do to help coach without talking about playing time and strategy. For example, as a golf coach, the way I felt most supported was when parents came to talk to me about my family, my kids, my experiences that I've had as a coach, when they've brought meals to my family when I'm gone on an away trip, when they just want to talk to me and tell me about a cool thing that their family did or this fun thing that they did with a couple of girls on the team. They want to be normal people. They feel supported when you engage them like a normal human being. And so I'd encourage you, like, approach coach about things, but don't approach them about those things, and approach them about things that actually make them feel like a human being, not somebody you're trying to get something from. Okay. Spectators, I just want you to know, like, there's a fee at all the Graciac games. There's a fee to get in. I believe it's $3 for adults. Kids are free, and seniors, so grandmas and grandpas, are $2 a piece. And so just don't be surprised. Have some cash with you. There's only one school that does credit charges. I think it's IHM. So make sure you have some cash for those events as you go. For us, we collect a fee because I don't ever ask you for fundraising. The only fundraising I do is collecting fees at the gate, and all of that money goes into an account where I buy uniforms and all things. You've never heard me in all the time that I've been here, 10 years now, ask you for a dollar. And that's because I am a steward of the money that we get when we host events. So know that when you pay that fee for us, it's going to our program. As far as being in the stands, I'm super passionate about the way that we put Christ on display. We get a lot of compliments from officials and from opposing schools and from the league on the conduct of our coaches, the conduct of our players, and the conduct of our parents. And there's nothing that makes me feel like we are a school putting Christ on display than that, because you've all been at Graciac events where the other team's coaches, players, or parents have not put Christ on display in the right way. And it's super important that we find a way in this challenging world of youth sports to do it the right way. So here's a couple of tips. The officials are probably not very good. They're middle school. They're learning, just like our athletes are not as good as high school athletes, right? They're learning. They don't do it great all the time. They're learning. So just go into it knowing like I'm probably not going to have a great official, because even when I go to the varsity games, I get mad at the officials. So I probably shouldn't expect this middle school official to be great. So just go into it knowing the officiating doesn't matter. The only thing the official does for us is allow us to have a game. So even if they're the worst official in the world, say, thank you for officiating today. I'm so glad we got to have a game. We really appreciate it. And they'll come back and they'll get better at officiating. And then maybe in 3 months, they'll be encouraged enough to actually be good at it, right? So encourage them. So be kind to officials, be kind to our coaches. I can tell you that I had to hire 38 new coaches last year. 38. We have 70 teams in the middle school throughout the year. I'd hire 38 coaches. Part of that is because they're just 1 year coach. Part of that is because they're scared of you. Part of that is because coaching wasn't for them. But what I'm telling you is at our level, we get coaches that are learning to see if they like this, learning to see if they can give back, learning if this is something that they love to do. So treat them with love and kindness. It's already hard enough to be a coach. They don't need other people giving them a hard time, right? I'm working with them, trying to help them get better. That's my number one job, is to help them learn about who they are as a coach and help them become better to serve our kids, and just know that I'm working on that. But please treat them with kindness. And I also want to encourage you, like, don't be the coach in the stands. The child is in a lose-lose situation. Meaning, if they listen to you, they're probably not listening to coach. And if they're listening to you, that means they have to look in the stands. And as a coach, there is nothing that I hate more than if my players, instead of looking at me, are looking to their parent who doesn't come to practice and doesn't know our team strategy and has no idea what's going on, is telling them what to do. So when you speak to them about how to play and they have to look at you, you're actually hurting their chance to be part of the team, right? So just, I want to encourage you, coach them up after, not during, right? And if they're listening to coach and they're ignoring you, you get mad about that. And you get mad they're not looking at you, and you get mad that they're not listening to you. So now they're losing with you. So either way this goes for your child, they lose. And so my encouragement is, be a fan in the stands. Cheer for your kid, encourage them. They need encouragement. There's enough judgment placed on them. Just encourage them and love them. And then afterwards, if you want to coach them up, I mean, I don't really coach my son up a whole lot afterwards, but if you want to, that's up to you. But just give them the opportunity to be a player for a coach in those games and in those practices, and let you just have the fun of being a supportive person that's having a good time and putting Christ on display. And that is all that I want to talk about, except make sure that you have fun. For some of you, it's the last time your child will play volleyball. For some of you, it might be the last sport they play the whole year. I don't know. But I know that in 8th grade, a lot of those feelings and those emotions, those last this, those last that, make sure you can look back and say, I had fun being a parent. I had fun contributing to all of this. I had fun watching and enjoying my child try to do something that's really hard and really scary for them. Make sure that you're able to look back and say that you had fun. That's why I do what I do, because it's fun. And I hope that's why you'll parent the way that you will this year, to have fun. So thank you for your time today. If there's any questions, I want to open it up for questions. If there's anything in the chat, you can put something in the chat, but that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. Is there something I didn't cover that y'all wanted to know about in reference to this week or starting the volleyball season? Okay, I must have done a really good job then of covering everything. I'll take that as a compliment, and that I'm on it this night. But thank you so much. If you want to go, you can go. If you want to stay on and ask me a question, you certainly can. You're blessed to have great coaches. We're honored to have your kids here, and we look forward to having a lot of fun and a lot of challenge this year. It's going to be a nice, challenging year for us playing volleyball this year, and I look forward to it. So thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
Hey, Kevin, can you?
Yeah.
Totally unrelated to 8th grade. I have just kind of a random 5th grade volleyball question.
Okay.
It says a schedule that there's 4 possible days for your team assignment, and we're possibly going to be out of town that Saturday. Is there a way for us to know if our fifth graders are going to be doing team assignments on Saturdays? And if so, what time?
Fifth
Or is
grade
that
will not.
they won't be meeting on Saturday? Perfect.
Right. The only reason is because we started in kind of a weird day. And so usually we need 3 to 4 days to get all of our teams their formation days. So
Totally.
there's just one grade, it's going to be sixth grade, that's going to use that 9 a.m. slot on a Saturday.
All right.
Everybody else I could fit in before that, but just based on coaches and schedules, we had to move one of them.
I figured you could answer my question and that I just quick hang around. So thank you. Yeah. See ya. Thanks again.
Yeah. Yep.
Hey, Kevin, just real briefly, I know that until teams are determined and availability is set, do you have any idea if between the A and B team coaches, if it'll be after school or a little bit later, just for working parents who are trying to figure out babysitters and or transportation?
Yeah, so as soon as this is done, you'll have those schedules. But for the most part, both sets of eighth grade coaches will practice late. I know
Okay,
that Tiffany's group will practice at, and Kristen's group, I think, are going to practice at 3 on Fridays.
okay,
But the rest of the days that they have a practice or a game, it would be evening event,
evening,
whether
okay,
it's 5 or 6:30, depending on, their game time or their practice time, because they all have work.
gotcha. Okay,
Kristen said
that's
she
really
can get
helpful.
out, maybe one day a week early. And Tiffany said that she can do Fridays early. So I thought, you know what, we'll just put eighth grade, since they're going to be late every other day. They're always going to practice Friday if there's a Friday that week, and it'll always be 3 o'clock.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank
So
you so
that's kind of
much.
the goal. And I'm just waiting to make sure that that's okay with Kristen too. She's got to get that passed with her work. So,
Okay, appreciate it. Thanks so much, Kevin.
yep, thanks.
Have a good night.
All right, any other questions I can answer? All right. Well, then I'll stop the Zoom call, and we'll see you later. Thanks a lot.